Hey, JJ here. Welcome back to the Art of Value. So today is Good Friday where I am. It's a public holiday. It's very quiet, beautiful day here. And thought I'd just react to a couple of videos. I'm not going to play the videos. I'll let you know about them in case you don't know. I'm sure you do. If you're involved in investing in any way, probably. So today there was this interview with Elon Musk at the TED 2022 conference, the last day. I guess it was the last interview, big deal, where Elon Musk was talking to Chris Anderson, is that his name? I think so, from TED. So kind of partly of interest because there's the whole thing about Twitter going on, about Elon trying to lead a hostile takeover of Twitter. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. There's a lot of speculation about what he's going to do. He in the interview he did mention that there's a plan B if the offer that he's putting forward, if they reject it. So it's it's a fascinating situation. So especially if he becomes the leader of it, the CEO of it. I don't know what's going to happen there. It will be fascinating. But anyway, in the interview, he talked about everything. It was more of a more personal interview than normal, when he was talking about how he felt during when Tesla was nearly going bankrupt for 3 years, and just again about the future, about FSD, full self-driving. He does think it will happen this year. He was asked about that. He's said that it's going to happen every year, since what, 2016 or something. But he said when it does happen, it'll be a big deal. And I mean, I'm not a Tesla shareholder, but I do. I mean, it's amazing what he's managed to achieve, especially, I mean, SpaceX as well. I watched the SpaceX documentary that's on Netflix right now. Uh, it's incredible things. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens with full self-driving, but also the Tesla bot that he says thinks they'll have some sort of functioning prototype this year. Take it with a grain of salt about his timelines, but the fact is he does actually get things done. He did say he thinks it'll be bigger than the cars, so that should get people going. Tesla's share price actually dropped over this in the last session I saw, but so did a lot of things. But it's a good interview, and I've listened to quite a few interviews by him. One with the Joe Rogan one, the last Joe Rogan one was interesting. It was, obviously he was drinking whiskey at the time, and he's talking about all sorts of different things. Started talking about electric jets at the end. She said his brain would explode if he took that on, but would like to. Now he's taking on Twitter, so will that distract from Tesla? I don't know. But he talked about a lot of things like that in his not his family life, but his son, or in the future, what kind of it just one of the main things was talking about how he wanted the future to be inspirational, because we tend to think of, with climate change and the war that's going on, about how we have a tendency to think of the future as being bad, as not as good as now, but inspirational in terms of the future can be better than it is now. He also talked about his Asperger's or autism, I think it's called now, just in general. Asperger's, I don't think it's a word that's being used, but growing up in that mindset, and how it kind of helped him be the person he is today. So yeah, a fascinating interview. And the other one is with Warren Buffett and Charlie Rose. So two interviews coming out in the same day. I guess if it's in the US right before Easter, it's Easter here, Good Friday here now, but in the US it's still Thursday, and just while I record, I guess. And so for people to watch over the holiday period. And Warren Buffett was interesting too. He started off saying he obviously took a plane flight to get there. I guess it's in New York, I think. It's the second plane flight he's taken in 2 years. The other one was to see his sister, and obviously leading up to the Berkshire AGM in is it the 1st of May, something like that, beginning of May. And so he didn't really want to reveal too much. He said he likes to leave things for people to ask questions, any questions that he'll answer then. But so he didn't want to say anything about the current economic situation at all, because obviously whatever he says can affect the market, and he just didn't want to reveal too much. But so a lot of the stuff if you've seen Buffett interviews before, there's a lot that he's already said in terms of working with Charlie Munger, who's now at 98, and Buffett's 91. But Charlie Rose he tried to get him to comment on the current situation, and so it would be interesting if he says anything like that at the meeting. But he just reflected on his 91 years and many of the things that he said before, but when he started investing when he was 11, was it? And just growing Berkshire over the years. And I mean, both of these interviews are well worth watching, and the contrast between them. Somebody like Elon Musk is so focused, and Buffett did comment on Musk as well, saying, well, Buffett's saying about don't bet against America, saying how wonderful it's been America over the last, decades, centuries even, and Musk is able to do the things that he's done partly because he did it in America, and it's talking about Tesla, that it's possible. Look what he's doing to disrupt the car industry and move things forward, and partly is because not just Elon Musk, but he's doing it in America. And Elon Musk, of course, is from South Africa originally, and so. That's all I wanted to say, really. Just a quick one, just to flag these two things as worth watching. I mean, I think a lot of people are either kind of on one side or the other. They're either like, if you're a value investor or you come from a Buffett background, somebody who's they're coming to the end of his life, and Musk, it's like these are two. They're often billed as being opposing, and they have had some sort of friction in the media more than probably real life, but. Musk has said some not great things about Buffett, even though they're two of the most famous CEOs, founders in the world, and they've both built huge companies, some of the biggest in the world. One who's kind of old. I mean, Buffett said in the interview that he wouldn't know how to send an email. He sends email, but obviously does it through an assistant or whatever, and it's kind of funny. He now owns about 10% of Apple and now HP, Hewlett Packard, and technology companies, and it's funny that he's starting to own technology himself, and doesn't I think he's got an iPhone, but he was saying how the iPhone's like, he thinks about 25% of market share, but it's just got something more than anything else out there. And it's funny, but he wouldn't use one day to day, so that's strange. I don't know how. So the circle of competence, I don't know how he thinks. I guess I think he thought about how it's a consumer electronics company, and he does feel that's in his circle. But Elon Musk, the opposite, where he's just so everything about innovation, thinking about the future and making the future happen. And Musk has talked about how it's not like people think, oh, these things will just happen, but they won't happen unless somebody does them. In that documentary on Netflix, he talked about how it's not inevitable that humans will go back to the moon or back to Mars unless we actually do it. Same with electric cars. We won't actually fix or help climate change, or have solar panels, or we won't electrify the world with solar panels and storage and electric cars unless we actually do it. So yeah, it's just interesting at this time to have two hour long interviews. So 2 hours of watching, more than 2 hours of watching, but really well worth it, I think. So that's all. If you're taking some time off over the long weekend, have a great holiday, and I'll see you later.